Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports Business with Orufo Ezaga. You might be surprised if Orufo has grown taller. He wears glasses, and all of that. But hey, by the way, my name is Emeka Enyadike, and Orufo is around the corner here. We're just having a hostile takeover of his show as we talk about the digital opportunity in sports. And I'm going to be joined by my colleague, Mario Leo, all the way from Germany. But we'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to get into the meat of the conversation. But say hi to your guys out there. I know that we've got a gun pointed on you. So,
hello everyone. We have a very august guest in the studio today. Like he said, he's doing a hostile takeover of the program. But I'm a very willing victim in this, because he's been in sports broadcasting for forever. There's a lot he has to say, a lot of insights that you're going to hear over the next 40 to 45 minutes. So I'd implore you to stay with us. Joining us will be Mario, like he said, from Germany. Mario is the managing director and co-founder of Result Sports Germany. He's a world-respected sports, a leading light in digital sports across the world. He's an author, and he wrote the best-selling book by Ronaldo, and he's going to be talking about all of these experiences. And if you're in the sports business space, you want to hear, what this digital media, lecturer, because he lectures in different schools, he's a public speaker as well, what he's going to be talking about when it comes to digital media and all you can learn from that. So get a friend or two to join you on this as we give you these insights. There's a lot you can learn that can change the way you look at sports and maybe open an opportunity for you or your organization. We'll take the short break. When we return, the business begins.
welcome back. Welcome back to Sports Business with Orufo Ezaga. My name is Emeka Enyadike. South Africa-based sports consultant and analyst, proudly Nigerian, and a digital native, as we would like to be called. I'd like to introduce our conversation today is around the digital opportunity in sports, and how Nigerian sports properties, Nigerian sports clubs, Nigerian sports federations, Nigerian sports brands, Nigerian sports leagues, how they can all, catch up with the rest of the world, because we are lagging behind. I mean, recently we released the Africa Football Digital Benchmark, and out of 100 teams, the top 100 teams, actually more than that, but the top 100 teams in Africa, there's only 6 Nigerian teams, with the first Nigerian team, Enyimba, showing up at number 60, and that's not very good, given the fact that we have a massive population in Nigeria and a very youth-centric, tech-savvy, digital-first community, very happily engaged on social media, but not enough engagement with Nigerian sports. So I'd like to introduce our guest today. Mario Leo is the founder and CEO of Result Sports, based in Germany. Mario and I go a long way back. We work very closely. Result Sports is a leading platform that has been using AI to track social media around the world. In fact, one of the first companies to do that, and Mario has been at the forefront of this initiative. And along with me, we co-founded Digital Sports Africa, where we've taken the same learnings from Result Sports into Africa and currently published that benchmark that we talked about. So Mario, you're welcome to the show.
Very good afternoon, and I'm very honored and glad to be on the show. Orufo, thank you for the conversation, for the invitation today. Emeka's hostile takeover has been granted and accepted. I very much look forward to a great discussion and conversation, look forward to all our topics.
Yeah, it's nice to see you have all those logos. Yeah, you don't have a Nigerian club. Yeah, that's not very nice. Make sure next time I'm in Germany, I come with some Nigerian ones. But the first opportunity to look at is for most people they can't tell the difference between digital media and social media. If you can, just give a broad-based explanation of why there is something called digital media and how it's different from social media.
Obviously, digital media is the combined kind of connectivity of everything. It started literally in the late 90s, early 2000, where digital media kind of was born. And in this time frame, it was the email and the SMS which we sent to each other on our mobile device. There were no smartphones. There were no social networks at this point in time. It was just pure connectivity of digital foundation or the digital basis. And since then, obviously, digital media in 2010 has kind of gone into a juncture where obviously the website, the mobile apps and everything are owned by clubs, leagues and federations. But there's also obviously social media platforms who are external platforms driven by algorithms and with a huge amount of audience around the world connected to it. And that's why we combine it as digital media, everything digital, online marketing, online activities, and then obviously social media as external platforms. And that's the differentiator between the two subjects. So obviously social media is a discipline within the digital media, but it is not owned by the clubs. It's obviously relates to big platforms of Google search, the internet searches, the meta world with Facebook, Instagram, Threads, obviously TikTok as the latest kind of social platform gathering around, and all of these platforms kind of have presence of sports clubs, leagues, federations, and of course athletes, which is our subject today.
Now let's look at the work that you've done around sports and how the evolution of social media, because you remember that if you go back, I think the emergence of Barack Obama as president and his run was a huge moment for Facebook. And at the time, some clubs didn't even take it seriously. And then eventually the next year there was Twitter. And if we look back even into Africa and to Nigeria, most people still have not adopted these platforms. As someone who has been working with a lot of the clubs in Europe, what were the experiences and why and how did they quickly jump on it? And then Africans are only beginning to wake up to it now.
Yeah, obviously we started to notice obviously this evolution in 2009 and in 2010. In 2010, we built a social media crawler to capture the data. And at that time, it was quite easy because there were 3 platforms active. YouTube and Facebook, which started in 2007-8 in the US. Then 2009, roughly kind of crossed the Atlantic and some innovative clubs started their journey on these two. And then in 2010, obviously, Twitter came along as the 3rd platform. And obviously what we did was every first day of the month, like 1st of February, 1st of March, 1st of April, we collected the community growth and obviously noticed, especially in 2010 and 2011, a significant growth of sports communities in that. And it was very intriguing for us. It was very special for us. We reached out to the Bundesliga teams, 1st and 2nd Bundesliga. They obviously saying, yes, we are active, but we don't have a clue. It's a lot of trial and error based. It's a lot of understanding what's happening there. And we just noticed that the fans, or our fans, wanted a direct relationship with the club. And then obviously we established a monthly newsletter called Social Media and Sport Newsletter, which then derived to a Social Media and Sport magazine. And in final evolution in 2013-14 was called Digital Sports Media Magazine, because by then clubs started to have apps. Clubs integrated the social media icons on their website and kind of cross-junctioned all of it. And the growth was tremendous, yeah, by the hundreds of thousands every single month in terms of growth, yeah, on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube. And then obviously new platforms arrived like Google+, Instagram, LinkedIn arrived fairly early on. So all these platforms we implemented into the crawler. And basically today in 2025, it's not only distributing information anymore, which is kind of in challenge and in competition to media outlets, yeah, broadcasters like Plus TV in Africa or in Nigeria. and obviously all the printed magazines and radio stations. Now today it's more like really a relationship between the fans and its club. And for players, it's obviously being the idol and the role model, where many of teenagers, youngsters, young talents want to become like a Cristiano Ronaldo, a Leo Messi, a Kylian Mbappe. And it's building brands, it's building an image, it's building role models of the future. So with the pandemic from 2020 to 2022, obviously the role of social media has significantly shifted. And we see now, obviously, on a global scale that clubs like Real Madrid, FC Barcelona have more than 400 million followers on their social media platforms. We see Manchester United, Man City, obviously, with more than 200 million followers on their social media platforms, and the growth is tremendous. And the first one in Africa to kind of adopt it to this kind of global initiative or this global momentum were clubs in the Maghreb countries, Morocco, Algeria, and especially Egypt with Al Ahly and Zamalek. Those were the forefront of it, and very quickly, obviously, the business entities or the sports entities in South Africa, the Kaizer Chiefs, the Mamelodi Sundowns, and the Orlando Pirates kind of followed that, and obviously also saw a sheer huge spike of their social media communities in the beginning, like 2015, 16, 17 we're talking about. And today, Al Ahly is the only representative from Africa in the top 25 of global football. And there is obviously in Africa a tremendous opportunity. And with our benchmarks, which we started jointly with your help, Emeka, in 2017 for the first time ever, obviously was leading the forefront of it. We want to help African sports organization, African clubs, leagues and federation to unlock the power of social media to build communities. And especially we see in Nigeria tremendous opportunity and possibility, because obviously
so hold that thought there, Mario.
Is not growing as we expect.
Mario, just hold that thought there. You mentioned Nigeria. But before we go to Nigeria, I think there's something that is missing in Africa. You define digital media, you define social media. Sometimes there's an interplay when you use the word going from disseminating information to the point where we're now at the point where we're now engaging with fans. I think that in the clubs in Nigeria, the federations, they're still in 2009, where it's almost like they didn't know what they were doing. And so my question is, what is fan engagement? And how does it apply to social media and digital media? Because I think only when you understand that when you have 40, 50 million, you mentioned that Real Madrid and Barcelona have over 400 million, they've practically become media companies, because which media company has that number of reach? And you have, your global top 10, you have 422 million. That's a massive chunk of the global population. Orufo, you might have something to ask.
Yeah, I think that's a question I would have wanted to ask. I think that feeds into what you have said is, how much of your offline success affects your digital media traction, or whatever results you get through digital media? Because like what I see of the most successful clubs, is that offline they're very successful. Even with Al Ahly, offline they enjoy huge popularity. And is that something that we have to deal with first to grow the offline communities or the offline interest before we then push the digital platforms?
It can go in conjunction, Orufo, because obviously it's really a combination, because we don't have time.
Well, it looks like his thing is freezing there, but I think the point that he's trying to make is that you have a scenario where the clubs that are very successful, when you look at the ranking, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they're very successful clubs on the pitch, but off it they also are. But when you look at, like in Germany, for instance, Bayern Munich is the most successful club, but a club like Borussia Dortmund, they fill up their stadium. They get an average of 80,000 people into the arena, and it doesn't matter whether they win or not. They haven't been winning in recent times, but they are able to attract that.
Yeah, to the point you made about the Nigerian situation, we don't have offline. I mean, we don't have much support.
Yes,
our stadiums are still empty, and so do you think? Like, I think he was going to say we have to build concurrently.
Yes.
So how do you think we're going to do this? What drives what?
I think to start with, the missing link for most Nigerian clubs is we don't tell our stories.
Okay.
I mean, social media, Real Madrid and all of them, one thing that people need to understand is when there was COVID and there were no games, they didn't go to sleep. They didn't stop.
Yeah.
They have a tremendous history that goes back sometimes 100 years. So they had enough content. We don't keep records.
Okay.
Growing up in Nigeria with NTA and all of these early platforms, they had very good content. We had all of the games that were there, and sometimes they used to have replays of those games. But today, how much of it is there? A club like Rangers, for instance, they were powerful in Africa. Shooting Stars won the African Cup Winners' Cup in 1976. Rangers won it in 77, and there was that massive rivalry between them. Then, of course, we had Bendel Insurance come on board in 1978, beating Rangers in the finals 3-0. There is enough history at the core. People talk about Enyimba. Enyimba only became successful in this century. Rangers had been there. Even clubs like stationary stores, even if stores doesn't exist, they probably could have a social presence, or even if they're amateur. Because you find that, in Germany, for instance, there's a club in Hamburg that is called St. Pauli. And St. Pauli is the red light zone of Hamburg.
Okay.
But the football club, they have a logo that's like a cross and crossbones and skull, similar to Orlando Pirates. They have been able to turn that into a massive brand. Mario is a Hamburg fan, so he probably wouldn't like that.
Okay.
But that's the story. So when you look at a club like Shooting Stars, they are a very phenomenal club with very famous players. Shegun Odegbami came through there, Rashidi Yekini, Mudalawa. So even if you're not talking about what's happening on the pitch today, there's enough story to engage with the fans.
And isn't that what digital media gives to you?
That's what it gives you, and that's the reason why. I mean, if you look at this ranking here, Man City, people talk about Man City. Man City is not a new club. Man City were a very successful club. Then because they were in the same city with Manchester United, Manchester United obviously became more successful after the 1958 Munich disaster.
Yeah.
And sometimes why history is important is that there are moments in history, like Zambia. I worked closely with Zambia when I was managing African football for Supersport. And the Zambian team, so Mario is back. Mario, welcome back. I don't know if we can still have you.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, welcome back. So maybe we go back to
the question.
You were trying to take the question from Orufo. For me, define fan engagement and then also the idea of successful clubs versus other clubs. How do you build side by side?
Yeah, no, exactly. And obviously we don't have time to spare or to lose in Nigeria. That's why we have to go on parallel tracks. Yeah, obviously many of the clubs are funded by politicians, by state ministers of sports and youth and culture. And obviously there is a media policy around which is just distributing content. And the majority of the content is just like in competition to a TV show or to a newspaper or to a radio session. And what the club media officers need to learn is they need to build relationship with the audiences, to build fandom, to enable fandom. So generate interest. Second step from generating interest is develop sympathy. From developing sympathy, you create fandom, and then from fandom, you create consumers. It's a natural evolution, and people want to out themselves as being part of the community. Of course, if you are a winner, of course, if you win more games on the pitch than you lose, it's easier, because obviously everybody want to out themselves as a winner, and that's something very, very important to know and to understand.
Yeah, and I think, to that point, I mean, there was a case study we did with BBC Bayreuth, them, in the German basketball Bundesliga. They had a scenario where, back in 2015 when we went there, they would only post on social media when they won games. When they didn't win, they didn't post anything. And I remember having a huge argument over the reason why you had to. And so when you look at, you're watching the Premier League, and Arsene Wenger was coach of Arsenal at the time when they started losing games. He never stopped. Every time they lost a game, he still came out to talk to the media. He spoke to the media post-match interview, then he did the post-match press conference, and then he even did something remarkable. When he's driving out of the stadium, he stopped to speak to Arsenal Fan TV. So fan engagement is something that is an everyday thing. It's not something that you do just when you feel that like you win, and that's to your question. Yeah. Do we still have Mario?
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's very, very true. It's like I said, it's be there because you see, we're talking in sports. It's similar to the music industry. We talk about emotions and passion. People dedicate their time, their commitment, their fandom, their sympathy, their love to a club. And out of it, obviously, comes then a favorite player. And that's how Cristiano Ronaldo, and Lionel Messi, and Mbappe, and even Zlatan Ibrahimovic, or retired players, have still an opportunity in social media, because obviously social media gives them the chance to connect to their audiences. And this we should always consider. That's why there is always the key and the focus to really build a relationship between you as a player, you as a club, and your audiences.
So now, Mario, when Nigerian clubs, for instance, wonder why nobody comes to the stadium on a Saturday, you're dealing with a Nigerian fan who is first and foremost an Arsenal fan, he's a Liverpool fan, he's a Chelsea fan. When he wakes up from sleep, picks up his phone, there is a post from one of the European clubs. When he wakes up, there is nothing from the Nigerian club. And so, the European club is still letting him know that they have a game on the weekend. Every day they tell them which player is injured, which player is not there. And then on a Saturday morning when he wakes up, what he's thinking about is to watch the game of Arsenal and not going to the stadium to watch, because there isn't enough information about the players even for the local teams.
100%, Emeka, that's very true. And unfortunately, I mean, if I would conclude from the far distance, and I hope I'm wrong, but if I would conclude at this moment in time, it looks like that Nigerian football fans favor the Premier League above the domestic NPFL league. And obviously, when you favor the international league, the Premier League, above your own domestic league, obviously you wait and you want their content from Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, Man City, and you take it as a higher priority than content from Remo Stars, or from Enyimba, or from Rivers United. So you've got to be really developing a relationship, and I can see that happening kind of with the only business-owned club in Nigeria, that they try to build something. I thought last season Sporting Lagos was on a very good track in terms of combination between fans in the stadium and online fans. But it's only like a glimpse, yeah? And then this glimpse of strategy is eliminated again, and doesn't prolong or doesn't continue anymore. And we've just got to build social media. We need to have a strategic plan and a strategic objective for our social media channels, because in 9 out of 10 cases, the smartphone is receptive for 16 hours. So the people, the fans, the audience is receptive for content for 16 hours. And therefore, we need to deliver a strategy or build a strategy on how to reach local audiences, how to reach regional audience, build our brand, build our club, build a relationship with our community, and grow the online audiences. When the online audiences are of significant size, we can kind of move the audiences from online into the grounds and saying, hey, big match coming, we need your support, and not just saying, yeah, today we play against the 9th position Heartland or whatever. We really build a relationship with our audience. The audience need to feel that it is required to come to the stadium, to give the full support behind the team, and be the 12th man of the team. And that's an empowerment of fandom, which we need to kind of achieve in the NPFL.
Yeah. So if we look at the commercial side, before we even go into the commercial side, the question then remains that what exactly do they need to do as clubs here? What do they need to do? Because most of them, don't even have digital staff. They have a press officer or a media officer who's a journalist, who maybe sometimes is a traditional journalist. He writes press releases, he writes match previews. Give us an example. For instance, you work with Man City, you work with Dortmund, you work with Roma. We can talk about your book and the impact of the transfer of Ronaldo from Real Madrid to Juventus. But first of all, with the clubs that you work with, what is the size of their digital staffing? Because in Nigeria, there doesn't seem to be this need to employ people specifically for digital media. Give us an example. Average, Man City.
I mean, I can start with the smallest examples. Yeah, obviously in the third tier, like SVW in Wiesbaden, who is a team who kind of promotes to the second division, then relegates again to the third division, here in the third Bundesliga, or the second Bundesliga, and then the third league. So they have 3 staff full-time for media and social media included. And then they have 1 or 2 voluntary staff who kind of come on match day and support, because there is so much ongoing and so much content needed for the social media platform. So they are in the third division and having 3 to 5 staff. Then obviously going into a regular second division team like Greuther Fürth, 1. FC Kaiserslautern, who's been in the past in the Bundesliga but are regular participants in the second division and are more kind of traditionally seen in the second division. They usually have 5 staff for media and comms, and they dedicate about 70% of their time for online media and social media and 30% of their time for classical media. And again, on match days, they have 1 or 2 volunteers coming in to assist and support, like photographers, making sure that the pictures come be used unique and give to the audience unique on each platform. Then up to the big teams. I mean, when you look at VfL Wolfsburg, who is kind of a regular Bundesliga team, they have 12 staff in their sport communication team full time, and out of the 12, 8 are looking after social media. And then we grow bigger to Borussia Dortmund. They have about 23, 24 staff, including Borussia Dortmund TV, their own in-house TV channel, and produce content literally on a daily basis for the website, for the club TV, but also for social media. Until obviously the big sizes like FC Barcelona, Manchester City, where there's more than 50 staff developing, producing content for the social media channels and for the in-house channels.
Well, thank you very much, Mario. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will unlock that. But by the way, 50 staff. That's the media company.
There's something else. There was a point you raised, and I'll just do this quickly before we go on the break. And that's the fact that most of the people saddled with the responsibility of winning fans over here in Nigeria are media people. And there's just such a dearth of marketing expertise in the sector. And that's because, and the problem is both ways. The marketing sector has not properly seen the sports opportunity, and the sports sector has not seen the marketing need. All right, and the marketing man thinks from the point of view of the fan or the customer and all of that. Those are things, rivers we still need to cross and all of that. But like you said, we'll go on the short break now. When we return, the business continues.
Welcome back. You're still on with Sports Business with Orufo Ezaga. Like I said before, I'm not Orufo. He's here. Mario and I, we just took over his show today. We still have Mario with us here. Before we went on the break, we talked about the numbers. How many people do these clubs employ? The one thing I wanted to emphasize here, and I think Mario will delve more into it, is when you have 50 people working on social media, then you're no longer just a club. It means that you are a media company. So Mario, please break down why most of these clubs have become such huge media companies now.
Well, first and foremost, because of the demand of the fans and the audiences, because that's what they desire, that's what they wish. They want everyday updates from the training ground. They want no pundits. They don't want gossips. They don't want rumors. They want quality directly from their clubs which they love. from the clubs they follow, from the club they desire and aspire to be like that. So that's how the clubs kind of evolved. And obviously one key reason to grow manpower is that the media and comms department in the big European football clubs is not a cost center anymore, because they build internal products like the team lineups, the match day visuals, match day statistics, and all of this. And these match day statistics and these starting 11 or starting lineups are suddenly like products where sponsors can be represented, sponsors can be featured, sponsors can be activated. And the benefit for the sponsor is that suddenly a product or a brand becomes emotionalized by the club or by the player. And this emotionalization is obviously worth money and funds. So therefore these products are placed by partners and sponsors. And suddenly the media and comms department is a profit center, and a profit center from a board of directors and CEO level or management level perspective is worthwhile investing, because I want to generate more revenue and more money. So therefore, obviously, then the manpower grows in these teams, and this vicious cycle, or this cycle of evolution can really be enabled. Yeah, the following step is when you have more manpower, more resources, meaning more content, so you can produce more content. And when you have more content, obviously, you can then have more content on your website and kind of have a user click journey from a social media channel onto your own platform, your website, and kind of connect with the audiences on your side. And then, like I said, build a relationship, building sympathy and building fandom. It's a natural evolution.
Okay. You know, I quite like that. And I think this is a point that needs to be stressed. The fact that if you get a media strategy right, it no longer becomes a cost, so to speak. Yes. It becomes a profit center, and then it runs itself, you know. But Mario, I think what I would really like to hear a bit more of, and maybe for the uninitiated as well, is how does this actually translate to the money that you speak of? How does your digital media translate to money for the clubs?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I fully understand that. Obviously, it's very, very similar to like a TV station or a magazine kind of funds their revenues. Obviously, they sell the product, then you have a subscription to that. But inside the subscription, you have advertisement. And this advertisement is exactly what I tried to explain earlier when I mentioned that the media team develops products. And you can see that obviously when you look into Manchester City content, for example, that you see very, very often a sponsor associated to the individual kind of feature, like the manager's press conferences, Pep Guardiola's press conferences. There is a sponsor associated presenting that match day conference. Then obviously there are sponsors associated alongside match day content, like the team lineup, like the match day graphics, the match day visuals, and we can see or see those examples very, very often, and that's something obviously building into that relationship. So the team or the media team kind of develops these products, and out of these developed products, we then see obviously from the revenue being paid for it. So if you look, for example, into the Man City women's account when they played their last Women's National League match against Leicester City on Friday, and their starting 11 was presented by Etihad Airways. So the sponsors are very, very credible sponsors, and they emotionalize their product or the content selected for them. They emotionalize their brand and their company with being present on social media. So the fans associate certain features, like the team lineups, like the matchday results, like matchday statistics, with a sponsor who presents kind of this format. And for this presenting of this format, the sponsor pays revenue or pays money, and this money flows then into the media team because the product origins from the media team.
So there are two things, Mario, to look at. Number one is that obviously they've got very, very massive size in terms of the fan base. They have a lot of fans. So that is number one. Number two is the possibility to geo-target, which means that they can have a sponsor, for instance, for the same lineup. They can have the lineup appear in a place like Singapore, and it's got a different sponsor, and it appears in Nigeria, it has a different sponsor. Understanding that understanding those metrics, can become very, very useful. And we know that there's only one internet, but if you can speak to the possibilities in terms of how you can target different markets for your brand when it becomes global.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously, I mean, you can when you have the global reach, and obviously the benefit of digital is everything can be measured. We can measure every single click, and that's how we use AI and we use the Result Sports platform to identify whether that click is a local click from somebody, for example, at Rivers United from River State, somebody from Sporting Lagos from Lagos City. And every click can be associated to a location, to an individual. Obviously, we are fully GDPR compliant, so we don't go in infringing like a single user kind of scope or identification or identity. That's not the goal of it, but just to understand how many of our followers are domestic followers, how many of our followers are international followers. And if we then know the international followers reside in Thailand, reside in Indonesia, reside in Turkey, reside in Nigeria, we then can obviously then dedicate manpower and approach the people in their local language, in their local dialect even if possible. That's why you see AS Roma, for example, having a Pidgin Twitter account or a Swahili Twitter account for Eastern Africa. So they go directly in the dialect, in the language, to the audience where they want to reach the audience, because they know that there is a significant size of people from this country following their club, and that's why these offerings then are established. And that's why you need to work with data, with creative data. You need to understand the data, because data is not an enemy. Data works for you, and the benefit on the digital world is we can measure every single click. We can measure whether Orufo watches the Champions League highlights of Real Madrid Man City tomorrow morning 3 minutes, or 3 minutes and 10 seconds, or 3 minutes and 15 seconds, or even have a full through play. That's all measurable. And then we can also measure whether there's a like or whether there's a comment on social media. And then obviously in the next cases, we can build obviously a direct relationship with Orufo, because we know that he will engage with every single content which we share out.
So it is important then for the club to know their fans. And this is one of the benefits of understanding the fan base, understanding the social media usage, and if you can, please explain the difference, because when I go through Nigerian clubs, sometimes I find that they post the same content across everybody. They post the same thing on Facebook, post it on Instagram, post it on X, post it everywhere. There's no segmentation. If you can, break down how those platforms are different.
Obviously, you can see obviously the platform differences very, very simply. Obviously, Facebook is being the oldest player in town, started their journey in 2010, and in 2015, 16, obviously Instagram came in and is being part of the Meta family. So because the early adopters are all using Facebook, for example, like if you look into my family, Emeka, which you very much know, it's like my children, like my son, the oldest is 23, my daughter is 19. They don't use Facebook at all anymore. They use either TikTok or use Instagram or use Snapchat. And obviously, because they are younger, they want to be entertained. And an older audience, they want fact-based information. They want highlights.
Like Orufo, his age mates are on Facebook.
But here I go. So you see, in Africa and in Southeast Asia, Facebook is still the very, very dominating platform. So our monitoring system not only considers the age of the audience, you also consider in every single country which platform is most dominant and most relevant to reach the audiences. And Facebook and Meta, for example, they have done in many African countries, the MTNs of this world, the Vodafones of this world, have obviously bundled the Facebook data into the data package, so they are more accessible than other platforms. Like TikTok or so was not part of a data bundle, and therefore the cost of browsing on TikTok was much higher than on Facebook, and therefore many of the users in Africa are very active on Facebook still, and Facebook's relevance, especially Sub-Sahara, is the undisputed number one. Yeah, and Instagram and TikTok are rivaling for being number two. But you see a slight shift when you go into the northeastern Africa, like Tanzania, for example. You see there that Instagram is the most dominating platform, and that's just purely because of accessibility in the mobile networks of the platform.
Yeah. Okay, Mario, from the sound so far from you, I see that you've done some work in the Nigerian space, or at least you have some understanding of what's going on in the Nigerian space. What would you advise that we do at this point in time? Because our clubs have a problem with even being popular with the fans, not to talk about emotional connections. How do we use digital media to win back the fans? Because football here was very popular. Our football was very popular. How do we get the fans back and using digital media? Nigerian solutions. Now.
We need to shift obviously the journey of our club, and especially the club media department, because at the moment the club media department serves more and more the Minister of Sport and the Minister of Sport and Culture in the respective states, and these servants needs to kind of being shifted in becoming like serving the audiences and the communities. And in hindsight, or in the backstream, obviously, the Minister of Sports and Culture, or Sports will be actually benefiting much more because the...
Mario, Commissioner of Sports, then so that people understand it better at state level.
Say again?
Commissioner of Sports.
The Commissioner?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, The Commissioner, the Commissioner of Sport will actually benefit much more, if the focus is not solely on him or her in the respective states, but if the audience is kind of the area, because obviously then, we build a relationship, an online relationship with the audience. But before we do that, we obviously, all the teams have already started and being active on social platforms. So I recommend first do a socio-demographic analysis to understand who is your audience at this moment in time on the social platforms. Are they young? Are they old? Are they male? Are they female? Are they local? Are they regional? Are they national? Or are they even international to some extent? When you've done this social demographic analysis, you can build a 2-year strategy of where you want to be in 2 years from now, which obviously includes advertisement funds from sponsors and integrating sponsors at some point in time, which includes building a relationship with my audience and have a much stronger engagement with my audience into that, and then really empower the audience and being open to criticism, because obviously we all don't like to lose, but obviously there is in football a winner, very often a winner and a loser, and the biggest winner obviously claims the NPFL title, and that's all unleashing or unlocking emotions. So we need to basically understand the emotions of our community and evolve these emotions and be kind of a director or a conductor of emotions and passion, and rebuild the NPFL status quo, which also means that at some point in time the NPFL need to be back on national TV, because otherwise you don't get the huge effect of visibility of the NPFL.
Okay.
Well, I mean, look, we have seen the evolution of clubs like in Tanzania, where all of a sudden you have 3 Tanzanian clubs in the top flight, and the assumption always is that it's only the old clubs who can do it. And we saw with Vandreza FC in Nigeria how they went from being unknown to becoming one of the top 20 clubs, even though right now they are outside of the top 2 leagues in the country. To what extent can you produce this, even if you are a fresh club, using Vandreza, for instance, as an example?
Yeah, I mean, Vandreza was really fantastic. I mean, first of all, they kind of worked a little bit with us, but they also kind of understood that obviously a new club, a new thinking club, especially by a business owner had the benefit that he needed to be different. He needed to have a unique value proposition. And the value proposition he identified was a large audience, because obviously with a large audience he thought, and he believed, rightly so, that sponsors will be attracted by reaching out to these large audiences. So the younger the club, the more innovative the club is, the easier it is to gain these benefits. And we are here. We are with knowledge sharing, with coaching, with training, with knowledge transfer into the clubs, because we don't want a monopoly on Digital Sports Africa or Result Sports. We want to unlock the power of social media and digital media at the clubs. So we want to share our knowledge and experiences with the domestic clubs and help them to develop the strategy, help them to grow the audiences, but also the sponsorships, because obviously we want the domestic sport to be the unrivaled number one and not an international sport, sort of taking over the local activities.
Look, Mario, that's a message some of us have been preaching for forever. But thank you for all that you have said. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I'd let Emeka put in a last word, and maybe you quickly, so that we can call it a day. There's still much that you can say, obviously, and we're hoping that you can agree to come on the program again at some point.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mario. It's great, always exciting to have this conversation. We have it almost every day. So, I think Van Dresa is a case study. Joe Doffier and the work that he did with Van Dresa is a case study which we are trying to put together to be able to share with others. Very fantastic. And we've seen it with Pyramid of Egypt, Cape Town City. These are all new clubs with new thinking. And I believe that at the end of the day, something we've also been doing with the Sports Apprentice is teaching young Africans how they can evolve with this program. And Mario has been a great mentor for a lot of that group. So thank you very much, Mario, and your final word to Nigeria and to Africa.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much for the time dedicated for this subject and this topic. I know many others have been waiting for, and I'm very, very, very proud, very privileged to be on the show today. And next time, I promise I will be in the studio with you and not far away in Germany. So I will come and show my commitment to Nigerian sports and Nigeria itself to grow and unlock the digital potential.
Thank you very much, Mario. And that's our program for today. I've managed to wrestle back the program from Emeka, who's been a great friend and a great contributor to this program, a great supporter of the program. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I just, personally, my wish and prayer is that Nigerians wake up, because we have the numbers. Yeah. You only need to look at what's happening with the music, Afrobeats, Davido, Burna Boy.
Yeah.
They have the numbers that the European clubs have, those kind of numbers. Maybe not so much, but they're doing certain things right, and it shows that our football can also be, and our sports, generally, not just football, every sport in Nigeria. We saw with cricket as well. So, we can be that good. Yeah,
I totally agree with you. And so that's the program for the week. Again, my name is Orufo Ezaga. Thank you, Emeka, and we'll be with you again in a week's time. Until then, this is me saying, be productive, be good, and stay safe.